Women Making Waves.
Okay, all right, let's have a go. So we're just having a laugh, Linda and I here, because I want to talk about laughter. And Linda doesn't. I get the impression that Linda doesn't want to talk about laughter. Why do you want to talk about laughter?
Well, I don't know. We've already had one try at this introduction to the show, which we've had to stop because it just went down a horrible, horrible path. But yes, we do want to talk about laughter. And I mean, what I was saying was,
yes,
I don't like jokes. You know, I don't find them funny. I just find things going wrong funny, or somebody doing something unexpected, or saying something really amusing, or saying something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, getting a wrong word.
So if somebody said to you...
why I find that so funny.
Yeah,
I do it myself all the time.
But Linda, if someone said to you, look, I'd love to take you to a comedy night tonight, you go, I'm sorry, but I don't like jokes. Is that what you would say?
Well, it depends.
Okay.
It depends, you see. Because some comedians follow the thinking of people like Billy Connolly.
Yes.
Who, they don't tell jokes. They tell stories that are very funny.
That's true.
And that I find really, really good. You know, that kind of humour I really, really like.
Yeah.
What's your sense of humour then? Is it a not joke or?
No. Well, yes, I do like short and sweet jokes. I really do. But I also like going to comedy nights. I can't say I've been to many, but the ones I have been to, I've really enjoyed. And they're not short and sweet jokes. They are, as you say, they tell a story, like Billy Connolly and many others. One of my favourite comedians is Michael McIntyre. He did an amazing sketch, and he literally told a story about your spice rack. And he made it such an interesting, funny moment about something that is so boring. That's what I like. I like clever comedians. And that to me is everything. And I think you do too, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for Christmas, hopefully, we'll find something amusing to watch or go to.
Yes.
Oh, and speaking of which, one of our guests is doing something that will be quite amusing, isn't she?
Yeah, that's Chloe Gentles. Chloe Gentles is the star of Cinderella pantomime at the Cambridge Arts Theatre this Christmas. Way!
Exactly. And that should be great fun. I mean, pantomimes are always a lot of fun, aren't they? And of course, all the preparation for Christmas. Our other guest knows about that, doesn't she? It's Gill Abbs, who works for Fitzbillies. She's going to be making, sit down before you hear this, 26,000 mince pies. I think that puts the rest of us to shame, really, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And I mean, I have made a few pies in my lifetime, mince pies rather, and pies, actually. At the most, I think I've made 80 and put them in the freezer. And I actually went to bed one night after making so many mince pies. I dreamt mince pies. I don't know how Gill Abbs will be able to do this. And
well, we'll have to ask her then, won't we?
Is that funny or not?
No, not at all.
You're listening to Women Making Waves radio show and podcast, brought to you by Suzie Thorpe and Linda Ness. This show is all about women doing extraordinary things.
Chloe Gentles is playing the role of Cinderella in this year's pantomime at the Cambridge Arts Theatre. Studying at the Brit Theatre, Chloe did an extended diploma in professional musical theatre before getting an Andrew Lloyd Webber scholarship to the Urdang Academy. Chloe has had roles in many musical shows. Welcome to Women Making Waves, Chloe.
Hello, lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure.
Lovely to have you.
Really
lovely
nice
to have you. Very exciting. So, when you were young and you made this decision, why musical theatre? When did you realise that you loved singing and dancing?
Oh, well, if I'm being honest, I think I've always been singing and dancing, even in the womb. I just, at 2 years old, at family gatherings, I picked up a microphone, started singing and dancing, and I guess that was that. I think when I realised I really wanted to do musical theatre was when it was the craze of like High School Musical. When that came out, I was the perfect age for that. So High School Musical came about, Hairspray, and I was obsessed with the films. And every time I'd come home from school and put the CD on and just dance all afternoon, basically, to the soundtrack until my mother called me for dinner. And then I went, oh, I want to do this for the rest of my life. How do I do this? So I looked into it when I was in secondary school, and I was very lucky that I went to like a normal state secondary school, but they specialised in performing arts. So there was a lot of after school activities that revolved around singing, acting and dancing. And I just got involved with absolutely everything. And once a year we put on a musical. So I would be part of that. And then it was also the time of the Glee, when Glee came out. And that massive
I remember
craze.
that, yes.
And there was a new thing that came about called the Glee Club Challenge, which was to do with Jack Petchy, who is a man who gives donations to schools of students who really excel in something. And my school got involved, and we ended up winning the whole competition. And it was through the whole of the country, which was amazing. And the finals were at the Savoy Theatre. And Graham Norton was one of the judges, which I always blows my mind that I've met him. And yeah, I kind of did that. And I asked my teachers, I was like, so where do I go from here? And they advised me to, apply to drama school and audition. And that's the steps that I took. And then I've just been very fortunate. And also after a lot of hard work, I've gone from the Brit School, which was amazing. And then from there, was awarded the Angela Weber Scholarship to go to Erdang, did my 3 years there. And then I graduated and was very fortunate to have my first job out of college, which was Avenue Q, which was a year-long tour around the UK. And then from there, I've just gone from another show to another show to another show, and now I've landed here in Cambridge, which is amazing. And I will be playing Cinderella, as you've mentioned, at the Cambridge Arts Theatre, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be able to talk to you as well. And being in the Cambridge, Cambridge Arts Theatre is wonderful. It's a beautiful place, and it's a lovely city, Cambridge. So it ticks all the boxes for us having you here. And I think I'm assuming you've moved and grooved around Cambridge a bit. Have you looked and seen some sites around Cambridge?
I have. I actually visited Cambridge this time last year for the day. So I've done the punting. And I walked around. I went to Fitzbillies. I had one of the famous Chelsea buns and a coffee. And then since being here, I've only been into the town once, actually, because every single day we've been rehearsing in a church just outside of Cambridge. And it's my days have literally been get up, get ready, go to rehearsals, come home, eat, sleep, repeat. But this weekend we finished our last run today. So I've got this evening and my mother's joining me, and we're going to go out into Cambridge and have some dinner. And then tomorrow, again, I'm going to go and do some shopping and get a few bits and bobs before moving into the theatre on Monday to start tech to open on the Thursday evening. But yeah, the exploring of Cambridge so far, not much, but I'm excited to see what else is out there. I did go to the Pint Shop last week, which was amazing. Had a great meal there. And I saw the lights being switched on for Christmas, which was lovely.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah. So I'm excited to try. I know that you guys have like the famous hot chocolate here. Is it Snoops? That's what I've been told to try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Well, I think you've got a nice time. It finishes in Jan 5, so you've literally got a few weeks to explore Cambridge in between. I suppose. Do you get time? Will you get time to explore? Because what is it like being in a musical theatre and immersing yourself? I mean, you're doing this. What is this? 5-6 nights a week?
Yes. So with a panto schedule, it's quite different. I would say definitely more intense than a normal musical theatre schedule. Normal shows, there's about 8 shows a week, sometimes 9. Within panto, we have 12 to 13 shows a week. And then with this production, we have 5 3-show days where there's one at 11, one at 1 and one at 6 or 7. So that's kind of like doing a marathon. And I just make sure that I'm in the best health that I possibly can be. I look after myself. I have early nights. I eat well. I work out because I like I said, I feel like I go into athlete mode because doing, 3 shows in one day is very grueling on the body and the mind and the voice. But completely rewarding. And there's something about doing panto that I just feel adds to the Christmas magic or the festive spirits. And the children who come and watch the show, doing these children's shows during the day, it's probably my favourite time to do the shows, because these little kids, they look up to you and it might be their first show they've ever seen.
That's true. That's very true, actually, Chloe.
Yeah. So we're the first theatre that they experience, which is so magical and so rewarding as a performer. And they just look at you in such awe, and they believe 100% that you are Cinderella. And it just, I don't know, it's something about bringing joy and having that experience with their peers and their teachers. And I remember seeing panto when I was a student, when I was a kid, and it was just so magical. And going home and telling your parents or carers what you saw. And I don't know, for me personally, obviously it sparked, I want to do that, I want to be on stage. But it definitely brought joy to everyone around us.
Yeah. And I believe you've played Cinderella before, is that right?
Yes. So this is my third time doing panto.
Oh, wow.
And the first time I did panto was in 2021 at the Corn Exchange in Newbury, and I played Cinderella there, and that was my first ever panto, and I absolutely loved it. And I feel Cinderella is such a great part to play. It's so much fun. And then last year I went back to Newbury and I played Belle in Beauty and the Beast, which again was just magical, a dream come true. It was one of my favourite Disney films, Beauty and the Beast. And now I'm here in Cambridge playing Cinderella again, and it's just, it's so magical. And she's such a great part, because she really does go from, the classic rags to riches. But with our character, without giving too much away, she's very headstrong. She knows what she wants. She's very into her studies. She wants to save the planet. And yes, of course, there is still the fairy tale element where she meets the prince and goes to the ball. But yeah, she's a great one to play.
That's great, because pantomimes do that, don't they? They bring in the current ideas of the time, like being green and all of that kind of thing. That's the great thing about pantomimes. They change year on year, don't they? And they bring in lots of different ideas. Yeah, and they definitely make sure that they add certain language in the panto for everyone to enjoy, whether it's, it's grandparents to the kids, to the teenagers. There is definitely something for everyone, so the whole family can go and enjoy.
Chloe, I wanted to ask you what it's like being in a pantomime with all the community, all of your actors and the stage craft. What is it like? Do you become a family very quickly? Is it sort of learn to be together, learn to work together?
Oh,
how
100%.
Does it? Yeah.
Family instantly. So the first day, obviously, everyone's turning up. We're all nervous. We're all getting to know each other. And then by the third day, it's like we've known each other for years. It's so crazy because you just get thrown into the deep end and you have to just act with your fellow peers. And, it can be quite physical. So I have a father in this. So straight away, me and Stuart, who plays the Baron, we're hugging, we're smiling. And again, playing opposite the prince, we have to dance. We have to bump into each other. So there's a lot of physicality within all the performers, and we all become such a massive family. And even today on our last run in the rehearsal space, a few of us were crying because we're like, oh god, it's the end of the rehearsals already, and we all want to hang out, we all want to go to cinema together, and we all do really look after each other because it's so intense, the schedule. And we do have to become our little Christmas family, because we have one day off a week, and one of the days off during the week is Christmas Day. So it's the only time we really get to spend with our own families. So we have to just embrace each other and love each other regardless, and look after each other, because, there'll be days when one of us is feeling really tired or down or missing home or whatever it may be. And it's up to everybody within the company to bring everybody's spirits up, which is lovely.
Yeah, it's great, because I just wanted to say, just pipe in here, that Linda, our very own Linda, was also an actress when she was younger, and she was in a pantomime too. Am I right, Linda?
I was. I can't even remember what it was.
Did you enjoy it?
I think it was Aladdin that I did as a pantomime. I did different things. But yes, I did. And everything that you're saying is absolutely true. And, we know that they're all about fun. And the cast can be a bit prone to lurking around and improvising, can't they? Are you, Chloe, guilty of doing that?
Me personally, I think it's a really difficult position as being the title role. I'm kind of the one who keeps the train moving. So I feel like everyone else around me has a bit more leeway to improvise or to do silly tricks on stage, like put the other person off. And I would say I'm that person who kind of has to be still and structured and like, okay guys, I'm going to keep this train moving, because if I go, then we're all going to go and we're going to be here for hours. But no, there definitely is mischief.
And you find it hard not to laugh, not to, as they call it, corpsing on stage as well.
Yeah, corpsing.
That can be a
definitely
struggle.
at some points, especially one of my castmates, Matt. He's been in the Cambridge pantomime for years and years and years, and he is hilarious. One of the best actors I've ever worked with, and he plays Buttons in this production, which is Cinderella's best friend. And me and him have loads of funny scenes together. He's already tried to put me off and tried to make me corpse. And he's done it. He's already doing it in rehearsals. Like, he'll bring things on to put in my hand, or he'll pull a funny face, or he'll change a line, or he'll tell a silly joke. And I'm looking at him and I'm just like, sometimes I go, but I would say 90% of the time I am a strict professional and I keep it going. But there'll definitely be days where I'll definitely lose it when I'm very tired. And I'll be like, okay, I've lost the plot here and I'm going to go try and bring it back.
Yeah. And you know that January is going to be the danger time for that as well, don't you? But anyway,
100%, yeah.
I'm sure you'll be fine. It is great
Good
fun, actually. Great fun, yeah. I remember a friend of mine was playing opposite somebody who's quite well known, and he was an absolute monkey. You know, he used to, and I went in to see her one night and I could see her shoulders going.
Right.
And I was at the back of quite a large theatre. So, and I think people were loving it. You know, they were just loving it because they could see it was...
That's the thing with panto.
Yeah,
you can get away with it more than like a normal musical.
Yes.
With panto, like the audience love it when you mess up or something goes wrong or someone does.
Yes, it's true.
They enjoy it even more. So there's not that much pressure on you as an actor to be like, okay, I have to make sure I hit every single mark and I say every single line right, because if you do drop a line or something does go funny, the audience are on your side. They're wanting it. They love it. It's part of panto.
Very true. Yeah, it is. And I'm talking about the audience and what is a lovely moment for the audience? Oh, is it that they interact really well, or sometimes you don't mind if they're a little bit quiet? Sometimes, you know, some people really enjoy a show but are not loud, are they?
Yeah.
Is that?
I think with pantomime, where it's different is that we encourage the audience to be part of the show as much as we are. So we have the tradition sayings of like, oh no, he's not. Oh yes, he is. We have all of that. We encourage the audience to boo the ugly stepsisters when they come on stage and to like clap. And especially the Buttons character, he has a little saying that he says, again, I'm not going to give it away, but he has a saying that he says when he comes on stage that he wants the audience to repeat every time he comes on stage. So there is a lot of interaction, and the louder that they are and they laugh more, the better it is for us as actors. We get that response and that energy and we want to feed it back. So yeah, I don't mind it, but there are definitely moments within the show where it is dead silence and it's called for the silence, but it naturally comes, you know, there are the peaks, and there's, especially in our production, there's a moment where it's very, very emotional. And even today, some of the audience members who came and watched our run, they were in tears, and it's lovely that we feel that we can bring the audience along to have the highs and the lows and to just feel magic, I guess. And that's what we're trying to do.
It's what it's all about. It is, and you were right when you were saying earlier about children. It'll be their first experience of going into a proper theatre and sitting through it, because that's what you take children to, because they love it and they can be noisy and nobody will tell you off if your kid is shouting.
Absolutely. No, and if they want to go to the toilet 100 times or eat their snacks loudly, like, we don't care, because that's the whole point of panto, is that we want the children to come. We want all families to come and just have a good time and experience the festive magic.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier about costumes, and I remember when I was very little. Obviously, I've seen many a Cinderella, and I loved it. But your costume, Chloe, give us. You don't have to reveal exactly what it is, but just the excitement about wearing a Cinderella costume or wearing all the costumes before she becomes Cinderella. Go on, tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. I hope I don't get in too much trouble here, but it should be fine. So my first costume is the rags, and it's do you know what, for rags it's stunning. It's very pretty, the colours are lovely, it's pink and gold and there's glitter on them. And then when I first put the outfit on to have my photo shoot, I was like, oh, these are the rags, I can't imagine what the ball gown's going to be like. And then I tried on the ball gown this week for my fitting, and it is stunning. It took my breath away. I was screaming, and the costume ladies were laughing at me, going, "Oh my God, Chloe, it's so nice to have such excitement." And it's very bright, it's very sparkly, because in the show I'm called Princess Starlight, so I'm meant to look like a star. And then they gave me the glass slippers, and that was it. I said, listen, on January 5th, when you're packing up, I said, these might be disappearing. And they were like, oh, that's fine, we understand. We'll look the other way, because they are stunning, the glass slippers. They are beautiful. So I'm very excited to put that ball gown on. And then I have another ball gown that I wear at the end for the finale, which is like the classic Cinderella dress. It's very beautiful, and I genuinely feel like a princess. And I when I put it on, I put the tiara on and the gloves on and the jewelry. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening.
And what's your favourite, are you allowed to say what your favourite song is in the show?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, so for me, personally, my favourite song in the show is a song that I sing. It's called For Good, and it's from the musical Wicked. And I think it's just because it's an absolutely beautiful song, and also I just love Wicked. So the fact that I get to sing this song, and it's a really tender moment with Buttons, I just love it. It's a very indulgent moment, but I really, really enjoy it. But also the finale song is great, and it's a very well-known song. It's You to Me Are Everything, and everyone sings along and has a great time, and everyone's on stage, including the kids, and I absolutely love that number as well.
Yeah, and everyone knows it as well. That's great.
Yeah, everyone.
Now, I for all my sins, I decided that, because my daughter is also an actor, and so I decided a few years ago to try and do a local show.
Right.
And it was very, very interesting, very, very enlightening. And I hats down, total respect to you when you do all this, because I think it's hard work.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realise that when you are on the stage and you're doing something rather lovely and rather funny and rather fantastic, and you're entertaining all of us. But it's hard, isn't it? I mean, to remember lines, to step in the right place on the stage, to work with the stage hands. It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, your brain is working 100 miles per hour, because you're not just thinking about, as you said, the words or the lyrics, the song you're singing or the dance moves. You are making sure you're in the right spot, so the lighting designer can light you properly, that you're standing on the right side of stage, that if a piece of set's coming on, it's not going to come and crush you, or you're going to get a prop from whatever side. Your brain is everywhere, and at the same time you need to keep your energy high, bring your character forward, entertain the audience, also look down into the pit at the musical director to make sure you're coming in at the right cue. And all loads is going on. So when you are on stage, when people always ask me, oh, what's it like? Do you just feel alive? And I go, yes, I feel alive. But also it's kind of a bit of a blur, because so much happens at once. You kind of you're getting through it. And then you get to the end, you're like, oh, right, that happened. The show's happened. 2 hours later, I've done my job. Everyone seems happy. Great. But yeah,
let's go to the pub.
Yeah. Definitely that. Everyone goes, right, glass of wine, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's definitely well deserved. And I think when you watch a show and it comes across effortlessly, that's when you know that the actors have done their job. Because if it's looking easy, we're doing it right. It's normally what we're doing is not easy. But if it comes across easy, then hats off to us, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Hats off to you.
Yeah.
What's next for you, Chloe? Then have you anything else lined up for next year?
So far, no. I'm currently in the process of auditioning. So I've had to do a couple of self-tapes, and then I'm sure there'll be some auditions that I'll have to quickly run into London for and come back. But yeah, I'm trying to change my path slightly in my career. That I love musical theatre, and I've been very fortunate that I've been able to do it professionally for the past 7 years. But I really want to get into TV and film. That's where I want to start. So January is very much, okay, what do I need to do now to knock on those doors? Because it is a completely different industry. Oh yeah. And it's kind of a different ball. So that's my aim, is to push into that direction.
Okay, great. Chloe, it's been great speaking to you today. I'm really glad.
Thank you
really
so much for having me.
Well, so interesting to hear about the pantomime as well. And the Cinderella is running at the Cambridge Arts Theatre until the 5th of January. So if anyone you haven't booked yet, I think, get along and...
get down there.
Yes, get your tickets to the Royal Ball.
Yes, to the Royal Ball.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome.
Oh no, it's
Thank
brilliant,
you, Chloe.
absolutely brilliant. We do wish you all the best.
Thank you.
It's been lovely talking to you, and
Thank you.
I love all the stories. So,
Yes.
and we'll look forward to it. We'll have to book our tickets.
Yes,
Linda.
definitely do.
You're listening to Women Making Waves radio show and podcast, brought to you by Suzie Thorpe and Linda Ness. This show is all about women doing extraordinary things.
So here we are at Fitzbillies in Cambridge. We've just had afternoon tea, Susie, haven't we?
Yes, we have afternoon tea about 10 o'clock at Fitzbillies.
10 o'clock on a Sunday morning,
Yes.
at Fitzbillies. I mean, people weren't looking at us strangely or anything as they were tucking into breakfast. There we were drinking Prosecco.
Yes, and whose idea was that?
I think that was your
Yes,
idea,
I'll take
actually,
the credit
Susie.
for that one. You
Yeah.
did look a bit shocked.
I was a bit startled, but luckily we're looking forward to speaking to Gill Abbs and Alison Wright.
Yeah, we really are looking forward to talking to them. It's a bit nice here, isn't it?
It's lovely. Gill Abbs is currently in the process of baking, wait for this, 26,000 mince pies. Working at the famous Fitzbillies Bakery and Cafe in Cambridge, Gill has been employed at Fitzbillies for a total of 53 years. Gill is joined today by the owner of Fitzbillies, Alison Wright, who's no stranger to Women Making Waves. Hello to you both.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Lovely to have you here.
Yeah,
now,
very.
Jill, you've worked at Fitzbillies for 53 years. It's hard to believe looking at you, to be quite honest, with only 2 interruptions. And the second one was when the business went into receivership and was subsequently reopened by Alison Wright and Tim Hayward. That was back in 2011. Tell us about that time, Jill. How did it feel when Alison got in touch with you? Because you'd have thought it's all over, there's no Fitzbillies anymore, and then you get that phone call. How did that feel?
Well, I was quite excited at the time because I thought I wasn't going to be working back at Fitzbillies. And yeah, I was quite honoured that that Alison got in touch with me.
And you were working somewhere else, I think.
Yes, I
but
was.
potentially not. It wasn't Fitzbillies.
No,
so
it
wasn't,
was a bakery in one of the villages.
Alison phoning you up. What did Alison say? Did she say, come on, we will need you back?
I can't remember. I can't really remember what Alison said. But, I definitely wanted to go back anyway. So
Yeah.
I was quite happy.
It must have been great and a little bit scary as well, because it's a new employer with different ideas, I suppose. So how did it feel when you actually met Alison? What was that meeting like?
Well, I was very nervous to begin with, but as soon as we met each other, we started to talk about cakes and baking. It just came naturally.
So there was a connection right
Yes,
away
I
between you.
think
You
so,
had
yes,
something in
yeah.
common. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I'd completely agree with that. I guess we were both a bit nervous to meet each other. We knew there was this lady called Gill Abbs who knew all the recipes. And I guess we weren't sure whether she was part of the answer to our problems or part of the problems that the business had sort of come into at that time. But as soon as we met, we just got on like a house on fire, really, talking about cakes and baking and everything, didn't we?
Yes.
And I just knew that she could be a brilliant part of helping us make new Fitzbillies.
I've got to say, if my daughters start listening to this conversation, which I hope they will, when you have an interview and you start talking about cakes and mince pies and everything else, I mean, what a job. What a job to do. I mean, it is amazing. I know it's hard work. I've got to get that across because I'm sure it is hard work, Jill, isn't it?
It is quite hard.
What you do.
Yeah, it's quite hard, but it's very enjoyable. It's nice creating nice cakes.
I'd like to say at the end of this conversation that we have inspired more bakers by the end of this little 30-minute, that we will have inspired more bakers to do a job like yours, Jill. That would be fantastic.
And how did you get started, Jill? How did you get going in the first place with baking?
I left school when I was 15, and I was always interested in baking because I used to bake at home, with my parent or my mother. So I started an apprenticeship at the age of 15. It was 4 years. And then after the apprenticeship, that's when I came to Fitzbillies.
Yeah, well, it would have to be. really, if you've been there for that length of time, you must have started very, very young. So you were always baking with what your parents and at home and stuff like that, and making things.
Yeah, usually on a Saturday afternoon, it was always baking cakes for perhaps the weekend and the rest of the week. Yes. Was
it the same for many of your peers or your friends, Gill, that baking was the way into a working life?
I think so. I think back in those days, everybody baked at home. You didn't often go to a cake shop to buy a cake. You would do bake or have baking at home to do.
Can I ask you something? Is it something that you still do at home, or is it the last thing you ever think about?
I do bake at home a little bit if I'm trying out new recipes, but other than that, no, I don't make cakes too much at home. But if we're trying to work out a new recipe for Fitzbillies, I always do it at home.
They get tested out by your family and friends?
Yes,
presumably.
neighbours, yeah.
They must quite enjoy that.
They do, yes.
Imagine. When are you doing a new recipe, Gill?
Yes, yeah, I'm often asked that, yes.
So Linda mentioned in the introduction there that you're busy baking 26,000 mince pies. Now, I have made mince pies, and I've dreamt about mince pies after making only 48. So making 26,000 over a period of how many years? How do you switch off when you know you've been in the whole sort of atmosphere of making cakes and especially mince pies? How do you manage it?
Well, I mean, it's just not me making them. We have a team of people making them, so we all stand around a big square table and we're just chatting whilst we're making them, really.
So just tell us a little bit about the process of making the mince pies, because at this time of year, this is what we think about quite a lot, isn't it? The mince pies. And have you kept, obviously we're not allowed to know the recipe of your wonderful mince pies, but the recipe itself, are you very proud of this recipe?
Oh, I am proud of it, yes. It's a recipe I've been making since I've been at Fitzbillies, and really proud.
One of the things that Gill told me is really in her first year at Fitzbillies, so when she was a very young woman, she was approached by Mr. Day, who was the owner of the business then, and he said to her, Gill, this year I want you to take responsibility for making the mince pies because you've got really good hands for pastry. It was viewed as one of the really skilled jobs. So it was quite an honour then, wasn't it? And the older male bakers were a bit like, oh, why have you given the job to this young girl? But you were always the best at it.
Yes, I mean, they were surprised when when I made them and they came out of the oven, and they all commented how lovely they were, which, I was quite happy with that. And I've had the job ever since.
What does make good hands for pastry? Is it cold hands?
Yes, it is really. And it's just an art of, making it into a fine crumble and being quick at making the pastry as well. So it's not, in the warm room too long.
And is it also the case that you're not supposed to, correct me if I'm wrong now that I'm talking to a pro and I'm just home in the kitchen, but is it the case that you should not touch the pastry as little as possible? Is that right?
Yes, it's best not to over mix the pastry. You need to keep it nice and soft and, cool. But, it's quite easy to make. It's not that difficult.
It's really
for some it is.
It's really wonderful watching the bakers make the mince pies when it's very busy. So, Gill, what's the biggest number of mince pies that we make in a day? Is it 48 trays of 48?
Yes, it would, yeah.
And that's 3,000 and something, isn't it? I'd have to get my calculator, but 48 trays of 48 mince pies.
Yeah. I mean, next week we've got about 2,500 to make. And that's only just beginning, really. So as it gets nearer to Christmas, it goes up and up and up.
The guys work as production teams of 4 or 5 round a big table, and you have your most skilled baker, once they've mixed the pastry, rolling the pastry and cutting out circles. Then someone else can pop them in the tin. A third person can put the mincemeat filling in, and a fourth person can put the lid on the top. so that you get through the trays really fast. And sometimes we'll have 2 big tables next to each other, so you can have 8 or 10 people working on the mince pies at one time to bang out all these trays.
Mm-hmm.
So quite exciting in some respects, actually. It's a chore, but you've got lots of people around you, and it must be quite kind of buzzing.
Yeah, it is, because we have to do it quite at a speed as well. So but we were having a friendly chat and what have you, so it goes quite well.
Not singing Christmas songs then. That's not compulsory.
It depends. You do have your Christmas playlist sometimes in the bakery, don't you?
Oh, brilliant.
For being Christmas elves.
Gill, can I ask you specifically about mince pies? Mince pies have sort of transitioned quite a bit over the decades, haven't they? And centuries, from being a main meal. They were a main meal, weren't they, for most people? And then it became a dessert a few years later. Were you, at the time, were you having mince pies as a main meal when you were little?
No, it was always a dessert or an afternoon.
It was always dessert, yeah. I would have a mince pie breakfast, lunch and dinner if I had it my way, but it's not allowed in my house to eat like that, so I can't do it. But
not allowed?
No, not allowed.
You don't allow it?
Well, yeah, maybe I don't allow it, yes.
They did start definitely as a savoury item, didn't they? But I think that's when you're going back to the Middle Ages in Tudor England.
Yeah.
You're definitely not that old, are you?
No. You're not. Yeah, that's right.
We took some of our mince pies to do a tasting at the switch on of the Christmas lights in Marylebone and on King's Road. And what was quite interesting there, because a lot of the people weren't from a UK background, they were really surprised by mince pies, because they're like, is it going to have meat in it? Is it savoury? And we're like,
that's right.
Oh, it's sweet. So they were thinking, I guess, of how it was in the past.
Yeah, and I guess most the mincemeat has suet in it. So ours is vegetarian, but it was originally a meat suet.
Yeah,
that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And Alison, this must be a really busy time of year for you. Is it all a bit frantic from kind of November onwards?
Well, in lots of ways, it starts quite a lot sooner than that, because with our online business, we really have to be thinking about if we're going to make any new or different things. We want to be doing that, working that out in May. And by about July, we're taking photographs for the website and getting our Christmas brochure ready. If you want to be talking, for instance, to a national press title, maybe to Good Housekeeping magazine or something like that, we got an award from them for our mince pies. You have to send them in for taste tests in July. And
wow.
Then we certainly want our website up by September, and people will start placing Christmas orders in September. And then you're right, September, October, November is a really busy period of, have we got the website ready? Have we got all the packaging ready? Have we got all the mince pie foils and everything we need? Are we talking to people at newspapers, radio, social media? And then in some ways, by the time we're at the end of November and going into December, it's getting busy in the shops. We put the Christmas windows in, and it starts to get quite magical and exciting. And there's quite a sense of, we've done a lot of the preparation. And actually, Gill, you've made a lot of the cakes and puddings already, because they get to mature. So now it really is eyes down, isn't it, for the mince pies? Hoping lots of people buy them, which fortunately they do. We think it was actually 29,000 we made last year, so we're pretty confident we're going over 30,000.
Yeah, I think we've done. I think we've done 7,000 already.
Wow, and it's not even December. Yeah.
Gill, I just wanted to ask you, in your family, do you think there's anybody in your family, younger generations, who are inspired by you as a baker?
No, I don't think there is. I think they think I'm crazy.
I can't believe that. If I had you as my aunt or my mum, I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it.
Although, Gill, you have inspired lots of young bakers. We have for instance, a lady who's finished doing her bakery apprenticeship quite recently, and Gill was involved a lot in her training. But over the years, you've trained some people who have gone on to be great bakers, haven't you?
Yeah, many, quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
And some of them have got their own businesses now, so that's good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Wow.
And that's a feather in your cap as well, actually, really.
Very much so.
Yeah. And you still do apprenticeships, do you, for bakers coming through, rather than expecting people going to college and coming out as fully fledged bakers? I'm pleased to hear that you do that.
Yeah, we've had, well, as Alison said, one girl's just finished her apprenticeship, and I think we're going to have more come along eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is really important to get more people into bakery education. We're quite lucky, I think, with things like Great British Bake Off, that people are interested in it. And there's a brilliant one-year apprenticeship that you can do, mainly based in your